Hello, I often try and explain how stories change over time and location, and use this as evidence towards proving things some people believe just aren't true, such as stories in the Bible, as well as other stories as well. So in this video I'm going to show this happening in the modern day, some modern myths, and explain why people believe them and the truths that really is behind them. And so we can try and disprove those modern myths that people do believe today. So welcome to a story of modern myths covering contacting the dead, aliens, pirates and becoming a god. And welcome to Crecganford. So I'll start with American spiritualist Pearl Curran, and she popularised the Ouija board. Well, she popularised it as a divining tool anyway during World War I, when there was a revival in spiritualism. And that was probably driven by the deaths in World War I, as well as a pandemic on the Spanish flu. And those deaths meant that loved ones dearly wanted to try and contact the departed for one last conversation, for example. But the fact the Ouija board is not used by people who consider themselves serious psychics, if you can have such a thing. And it can be put alongside the sort of practices like dowsing, crystal gazing and tarot, as in basically nonsense from an academic point of view. However, the truth behind the Ouija board is that it was patented on the 1st of July 1890, 25 years before Curran's work, and it was made commercially available in 1892 by Elijah Bond, who was a businessman. And he made it available as a parlour game, in effect a board game, a toy. And that is all it is. It is just a toy to pretend to contact the spirits. And it's still sold today, but that is what it was. 100 years ago, the Ouija board was invented as a toy, and it still is just a toy. Nothing spiritual about it. Now in England in 1950, a character by the name of Captain Pugwash first makes his debut in the Eagle comic. That's the comic where Dan Dare could be found, which he eventually appeared in 2000 AD, which you may have heard of. But Captain Pugwash was no Dan Dare, he was a pirate. And he was popular, in fact so popular that the BBC in the UK commissioned 58 short cartoons from 1957 to 1966 based on him. This was all before the internet was available to allow people to research things and watch programmes again. And when the programme stopped being shown, a UK student magazine suggested that some of the characters' names in the series were double entendres, and it quoted pirate cartoon names as Seaman Staines, Master Bates and good old Roger the Cabin Boy. Now these rumours persisted, and I even personally remember them coming alive, and I wasn't too sure if they were true or not. You sort of wanted to believe. And a UK newspaper, the Sunday Correspondent, actually published an article saying it was true. But alas, it was all a lie. Captain Pugwash did have crewmates, but they were called Master Mate, Barnabas, Willie, Cutthroat Jake and the Cabin Boy, whose real name was Tom. And the creator of Pugwash was so distraught he actually successfully sued the Sunday Correspondent for libel in 1991, proving the story was false and Captain Pugwash just had some nice friends on board his pirate ship. Now let's do a quick look at a god, and that is the god of Rastafarianism, a monotheistic religion. So it only has one god called Yah, and Yah's deemed to reside in each person, like a bit of him's in each person. And this religion originated in the Afro-Jamaican community from 1930s Jamaica, and it was founded on the philosophy of someone called Marcus Garvey, and he was born in the 1880s, and he talked about black empowerment. Now the first twist to this story is that Marcus Garvey never actually followed Rastafarianism or believed in it. But Marcus Garvey is considered the prophet by Rastafarians because it was his ideologies that eventually grew into Rastafarianism. So by the 1920s, Garvey had organised the black nationalist movement in America and had over 1 million followers, and he was known for giving powerful speeches, and popular sound bites, and it's some of these sound bites that changed things. And his ideology was further supported by the Rastafarianism idea that God himself is black, a claim backed by the biblical text from Jeremiah 8 that says, "For the hurt of the daughter of my people I am hurt. I am black, as astonishment hath taken hold of me. But it was in 1920 when Marcus Garvey prophesied the future, it all became a bit more serious. And one of his sound bites was, "Look to Africa, when a black king shall be crowned, for the day of deliverance is at hand." And for little did he know, well, perhaps he did know because he was a prophet and therefore he prophesising, but little did he know that that would come true when someone by the name of Haile Selassie was crowned Emperor of Ethiopia. And Haile was black. Now, because this crowning was seen as the prophecy being fulfilled, Haile Selassie was then seen by Rastafarians as the second coming of the Messiah, as God. And it was at this point the Rastafarian movement officially began and became a religion. But the second twist in this story is that Marcus Garvey, who didn't think Rastafarianism was a religion and did not follow it, and Haile Selassie followed him on for that. He never regarded himself as God. He refuted the belief that he was God. He refused to believe what people said about him. And on top of that, he didn't follow Rastafarianism, didn't believe in it. And yet Rastafarians today still consider him to be a god, when in fact he is just someone in the right place at the right time to make someone else's words appear true to those who want to believe, despite the fact he himself said they shouldn't believe, and the originator of the word said you shouldn't believe. And then there's a myth about aliens. And this happened in 1947 in Arizona, and a chap was walking along and found a little bit of wood and something that was a bit like foil, and he wasn't too sure what it was, but he was sure it must have come from a spaceship. So he goes home and the story starts to spread that someone's found a wreckage of a spaceship, and that turned into someone's found aliens. And by the 1980s, 40 years later, the Rosewell experience was a major thing, with many people in the United States believing an alien spaceship crashed, there was an alien autopsy, there were spaceships owned in Area 51, where it's all just nonsense. The bit of wood and the bit of foil came from a balloon that is used to test nuclear bombs, or to measure the output of nuclear bombs. So when a bomb goes off, it can measure radiation and the like. And all that happened is one of these balloons had fallen to the ground, and this chap had found a couple of pieces of it. So there we go, another myth. Now, this is a consistent thing. I mean, there are other myths that have happened in modern times. You've had the Luddite movement, where Ned Ludd burned down a cotton mill as part of a revolution effect, until it's found out that actually there's no one called Ned Ludd, he didn't exist. The Mormons had Joseph Smith, who found 2 golden tablets that he's lost, even though they were really important to help him create the Church of Latter-day Saints. And this is the same Joseph Smith that a few years earlier, before finding the tablets, had actually been arrested and fined for pretending to be able to see into the future. And then you have Scientology and Ron Hubbard, who wrote poor science fiction, if I say so myself, said he was going to create a religion, and lo and behold he did, and people believe it and pay big money to understand where this religious story takes them. And so that is the story of modern day myths. They still exist, and people who want to believe them will believe them. People who are looking for something and the myth fits it, they grab onto that myth and make it bigger and expand it and tell it further and make it as real as can be, when in fact all it is just a story. And I believe you could apply those same rules back through time, through many religions, especially the Bible, where we've shown time and time again the Gospels being false and being made up. And so that is the story I wanted to tell you, and the reason why that stories change because people want to believe them. So I hope you enjoyed that. Stay safe, take care, and this was Crecganford.